Hey, what's up guys? When I do a Corvette frame off restoration, everything is usually pretty straightforward. I've done a ton of them in the past. As you can see behind me, this 67 was just recently removed off of the frame here without any issues. Usually the process in getting a fully running driving car down to, what you see right here is a 6 to 8 hour process in total, with me taking my time, laying out the parts, laying out all the hardware, and just flowing through things without issue. 6 to 8 hours total to get it like you see right now. Removing all the fluids, removing the bumpers, removing everything that I need to separate the chassis from the body. Now, when you get to something a little bit different like this car, I'm going to show you what can really go wrong when you purchase the wrong vehicle. And this is a otherwise beautiful C2 Corvette. You can see this 65 convertible that I just completed under the cover here. It's just sitting on some powder coated rollers that we have right now, but it had a complete frame off restoration. And it comes out beautiful. This car was built without any issues. It was a clean car before we started, and now it's really going to be spectacular. This thing though, 66 convertible, a customer brought it in, said, hey, let's get it on your inspection lift and take a look at what is the underneath of it looks like. Give me your honest opinion of the vehicle. You can see one of my previous videos where I actually show you guys the car with it on my inspection rack, where we kind of discovered everything that I'm going to kind of show you here. Basically, while it was on the inspection lift, we were able to identify frame rot. I mean, there's big holes here, and there was some pretty significant holes that we had noticed from the underneath here in the corners specifically. What we did not know, and when I should probably step back a second. When I release all the body mounts on this car, I like to loosen them all, and then I release them from the front to the rear. So right now, this car has all the body mounts released in the front, and I was working my way back. You can see the door gap has opened up huge. This is a major concern. As I released these body mounts in the rear, the entire frame section dropped. And right now I have it sitting on this stand that's kind of supporting the rear end up right now so it doesn't fall out of the car. But this entire rear section actually, just completely disintegrated on this vehicle. And now this was an otherwise running, driving car. You can see what's going on there in the corner. It's ready to fall out. So I need to support this as I put the car down. I get the rack underneath the body. I'll show you the other side. It's bad. It's real bad, guys. This is probably the worst C2 Corvette chassis that I've seen. Of course, the game plan with this is to strip everything off of it that's gonna be usable and just scrap the chassis. This is going to be completely garbage at the end of the day, this chassis. Otherwise, the paint looks really nice. The interior looks really nice. The engine ran and drove, really nicely. It broke. The brakes worked without issue. This car really didn't give the guy too much issue. He just knew that we were Corvette experts and wanted us to put, the trained eye on it. And holy moly, guys, you really gotta watch out when you buy a car sight unseen or without having it properly inspected by someone that knows about Corvettes. These are fiberglass cars, so you can absolutely purchase them where it looks beautiful up top. The fiberglass is very, very durable. It's not nearly as susceptible to rot as this uncoated frame. Holy cow. So I'm probably, 2 hours or so at the very most from having this body off of the chassis. I still have to remove the hood, the radiator shroud, just a couple of little minor things. the front bumpers, and I'll have this thing off of the chassis. So I'll be back with you guys at that point, and I want to show you just exactly what I find once I get this thing on the ground. But holy cow, I've done this quite a bit, and I'm not looking forward to this one. Oh my goodness. Comment below, what do you think, guys? I mean, is this as big of a nightmare as I think? I don't know. I'm about to be able to tell you. I'll be right back. And we're back. The body's off. It's been about 2.5 hours. I've been diddling with some other things as well, but mainly going at this thing. And just as I suspected, it looks terrible for this chassis. Let me show you exactly the extent of the damage. So first and foremost, you know, the body is fine. As I was able to get everything out of the way, you can see that the floorboards, this is how it's going to look. I strip it down all to bare fiberglass. Everything is just dirty. It's all gonna look like this when I'm done. And as you can see, I do a few test spots. You can see the before and after. It's just caked with dirt. So a red scuff pad and some lacquer thinner gets it all down the bare. I like doing a couple different test spots just to see, you know, how it's gonna come out. This thing will clean up really nice. The body, unfortunately for the frame, it is a piece of garbage. You can see the patch panels that they put in right here on the end cap here. I mean, just out of real thin, I mean, that is super thin metal. But check out the extent of the rot all the way around where the rear actually meets the front of the frame. Check out this side. I mean, it is without a doubt the rustiest Corvette that I've ever done, bar none. Check it out. Pushing down with my foot. You should not be able to do this with your frame. This thing was a solid speed bump away from being a mess on the side of the road. I cannot believe this guy drove this car in here. Hey, you know, Junior, just check this thing out and do an inspection for me and let me know what I got. Holy crap. Holy crap. Look at how rotten this car is. Holy moly. Now there's a lot of other, you know, stupid things going on, like they couldn't figure out how to get this distribution block for the brakes into this little holder here, so they just have wire holding it on next to it. I mean, junctions in the brakes, big no-no there. That's illegal here in Florida. And another junction. You can see everything's kind of wet because I've been soaking everything in PB Blaster just to try to give myself a fighting chance of getting this thing apart. I like how the front of the engine is orange and the rear of the engine is red. Someone gave this thing a rattle can job at some point, trying to freshen it up and make it look a little better. So the question is, where does this go from here? Well, engine, transmission, rear end all get removed obviously from the chassis. We take the engine down to a long block and bring it to my machine shop. Steve Keach at the Big Machine here in Sarasota, Florida. Bang, every time. I mean, he does a phenomenal job on all of our small block Chevys. Really 99% of our rebuilds go to Steve, unless we're doing something like a Hellcat motor or an LS motor, in which case we usually just buy a complete crate engine. The transmission will be sent out to the tranny shop, the auto tranny. The rear end we rebuild in-house. All of the half shafts, I should say, all get blown apart. All the U-joints get replaced. Everything that's rubber, every bushing, every portion of the fuel line, the brake line, all the clips, all that stuff gets replaced. The body mounts, all the rubber hoses, all the hydraulic hoses. It just goes on and on. Here's the boss. What do you think? Have you ever seen one do this?
Nice. There you go. Here, I'll do that. Put that on camera.
I got it on camera.
That's crazy.
It's the worst.
I know.
Isn't it the worst you've ever seen?
I don't think it can get worse.
This was a solid speed bump away from
Well,
being a mess on the side of the road, wasn't it?
This is what happens when people call me, want to know why my car's $10,000 more. I said, first of all, my car don't have this frame under it. So when you buy this crap on the internet or an auction, okay?
Yep. This is a perfect example of an auction vehicle.
There you go.
This is why they end up at auction. They don't want to represent or have the liability of this through their showrooms. At the auction, once you hit, you're the winning bidder. It's yours.
Your car.
That's your baby. So much like this gentleman, luckily he knew about us. We're fully capable of taking care of this, but it's not going to be a cheap fix. This is a complete frame, just swap.
You do everything and you go through it, it's 30 grand.
Yep.
By the time you reframe it, might as well do the motor and training while you're out, rebuild the engine while you're out, put a new gas tank, that one's shot.
Yep.
All the brakes on the lines, do everything.
Yep.
And then then you're going to clean the bottom because you're not going to stuff a brand new chassis on a dirty bottom. It's crazy. That's why it's real important that these guys.
You heavily inspect the chassis of the vehicle.
Absolutely.
Up top, the fiberglass, the paintwork, everything looked really nice on this car. It was acceptable, and this is a prime example of what you could find underneath. That a lot of makeup can be put on these cars to mask huge problems underneath.
It's unbelievable. It truly is unbelievable.
And you can see a good example of everything that needed to be removed here in order to separate the body from the chassis. But of course, this block here is going to be just grenaded. Every single nut and bolt is going to be taken off of this chassis, and everything's got to be rebuilt. Just unbelievable on this car. The worst we've seen yet.
That's crazy. That's still.
Isn't that funny? I mean, that thing was.
Yeah, that's insane. So if you give it the gas,
the
doors would open.
Yeah, it was a good launch or a solid speed bump away from being a two-piece chassis.
We'll have to sweep it up in a dustpan and throw it away because that's all it's going to be.
Yep. Well, thank you guys for joining me, and until next adventure, take care.